Tens of thousands of people across Israel joined the families of hostages this weekend to protest against the government and call for the removal of Benjamin Netanyahu as the Israeli Prime Minister grappled with one of the most serious threats yet to his coalition. The protesters in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa, Be'er Sheva, Caesarea and other cities on Saturday, and at a further demonstration outside the Knesset in Jerusalem on Sunday, demanded the release of those still held captive in Gaza after close to 6 months, and labeled Netanyahu an obstacle to the deal, vowing to persist until he leaves power.
This rally shows that the Israeli public woke up. It is clear today, 6 months after the massacre of October 7th, that in order to win, we need new leadership. In order to bring back the hostages, we need new leadership. Israel cannot allow itself the continuation of Netanyahu's government and its coalition. We need to go to new elections.
This is a government that has failed us repeatedly from last year, that when they tried to pass the judicial overhaul on October 7th, when so many people have died and they couldn't help us, and from October 8th and on, they're still neglecting us.
Protesters, along with the families of hostages, have urged ministers, including Netanyahu's political rival and War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz, to unite with other MKs in removing Netanyahu from power, accusing the PM of deliberately sabotaging efforts to secure the release of their relatives.
At the beginning it failed to protect the civilian, and then it failed to solve the problem either in Gaza, in the north, in the south. Just a big failure.
It's all people in Israel that want he will stop be Prime Minister and move and make some of them want election now. I want my father-in-law home now, so what, which way, it doesn't matter, just bring them back.
Police used water cannons to disperse protesters at the Saturday demonstrations and arrested 16 people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a nationally televised speech before undergoing a hernia surgery, addressed the protesters' demand for new elections and the hostage crisis. He said he understood the pain of the hostages' families and that he is doing everything to bring the hostages home.
Anyone who says I'm not doing everything I can to bring back the hostages is wrong and is misleading. And whoever knows the truth and is still repeating this lie is causing unnecessary grief to the family of the hostages. The calls for elections now, in the middle of the war, just before the victory, will paralyze Israel for at least 6 months, 8 months in my estimation. They will paralyze the negotiations for the release of our hostages. They will bring the war to an end before the completion of its objectives. And the first to bless it will be Hamas, and that says everything.
The nationwide protests also coincided with Netanyahu's statement on renewed ceasefire talks, which said that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken with the director of the Mossad and the director of the ISA, and has approved the next round of talks in the coming days in Doha and Cairo, with guidelines for moving forward in the negotiations. In further signs of spreading tensions within Israel, emergency services said a member of the country's Arab minority stabbed 3 soldiers at a bus stop in the southern city of Beersheba on Sunday before one of them shot him dead. In a separate protest, scores of demonstrators associated with the Brothers in Arms movement, formed of reservists, rallied in Jerusalem's ultra-Orthodox Meah Shearim neighborhood on Sunday, demanding the conscription of ultra-Orthodox, also known as Haredi, men into the IDF. Israel's Supreme Court on Thursday ordered an end to government subsidies for many ultra-Orthodox men who do not serve in the army, a blockbuster ruling that could have far-reaching consequences for the government and the tens of thousands of religious men who refuse to take part in mandatory military service. The ruling follows a series of delays by the government in presenting a proposal to the court aimed at enhancing the military enlistment of ultra-Orthodox men, who have historically been exempt. If the ultra-Orthodox parties were to leave the government, the country would be forced into new elections, with Netanyahu trailing significantly in the polls.